Hi, welcome to the Anointed to Dance TikTok page. My name is Trina, and the purpose of this page is to assist all liturgical dancers and praise dancers across the globe to bring in their dance ministry to another level in God and for God. Now, if this is your first time viewing my video, I encourage you to go to my TikTok page to look at other content that I've provided with guests and I providing scriptural references, resources, tips, and recommendations to assist you in bringing your ministry to another level. Now, if you have any videos you would like for me to review and provide my feedback, let me know in the comments or you could DM me. Or if there are any topics you would love to hear me to discuss, let me know that as well. I'd love to hear from you. Again, let's do more in 2024. Now, today we are going to talk about preparing ministry for persons with a physical disability. Again, preparing ministry for persons with a physical disability. And I have a guest, as you can see, a special guest with me on today. Her name is Miss Twila Moorman. Now, Miss Moorman, she and we met, I think in 2020 on Twitch, well, Instagram, then Twitch through a Woke with Stoke, thanks to Stokely Williams, the singer. Yeah. And we became part of this Walk with Stoke community from Instagram and onto Twitch, and we've been sisters ever since. And right now, I would like for you to listen to Miss Twila as she introduced herself to you.
Okay, good evening. I'm just going to share briefly about myself. My name is Twila Moorman, and I am from the DC area, and I consider myself a true introvert who loves good music and French fries. And I am a determined and competitive person who happens to be born with spina bifida.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much for that. And she's going to provide more information later on and share with some wonderful nuggets for you all on today throughout this discussion. Now, the purpose of this segment here, I found it to be really, really necessary because a lot of us encounter many individuals who have a particular type of disability, whether it is they're hearing impaired or visually impaired or mentally disabled or just physically disabled. And many of us, we really don't know how to interact with these individuals. And as it relates to the dance ministry, by being a physical art, it's rare that individuals with a disability to come to us. I haven't had that experience personally, but I have seen it. It's rare. I have seen it in very few dance ministries whereby individuals in a wheelchair who were part of the dance ministry, and I saw them doing wonderful things, and I thought that was great. But again, you don't see it that much. You don't see it that much. And so the purpose of this particular segment is to aid all ministry leaders, dance ministry leaders in particular, as well as the dance members in the dance ministry, to assist you in learning and educating you and helping you become more aware of how to interact with individuals with the physical disability. Now, dance ministry leaders are out there. Have you ever encountered, did anyone ever come to you asking you to be a part of the dance ministry? If yes, then well, how did you handle it? Were you sensitive enough to that individual? Were you knowledgeable enough of that person's ability to be able to do whatever you feel that you think that they can do? And if the answer is no, do you think you're knowledgeable enough? Do you think you're aware enough? Have you taken any type of courses, whether on your job or in school, as it relates to handling and interacting with individuals with a physical disability? And if the answer is no, and if it's yes, and may or maybe in between, then we here are to help you in assisting you with that area. Now, Ms. Twila, first, she's going to share with us the do's and don'ts of interacting and encountering, or even just simply conversing with someone with a physical disability, in particular those in a wheelchair. But before she does that, I'm just going to read the definition of a disability. And it says, a disability is any condition of the body or mind impairment that makes it more difficult for a person with the condition to do certain activities, in quotation, in parentheses, activity limitation, and interact with the world around them, and in parentheses, participation restrictions. And this is the formal definition of a disability. Now, Ms. Twyla, would you share with us all the do's and don'ts that you can possibly share with us, as many as you can share with us, the do's and don'ts of handling someone or interacting with someone with a physical disability, in particular those who are in a wheelchair?
Okay, so speaking from my experience, I was born with spina bifida who, and I happen to have, I use a wheelchair myself. So I consider myself a wheelchair user. And what's important to me and most in my community is that you ask us if we need assistance. That's the first thing. Um, and in communicating with us, you talk to us versus a person who may be with us. So direct communication is very, very helpful.
Mhm.
And also, if you would like to be at like our level, you would maybe pull up a chair versus looking down at us. Make sure you're eye level with us as well. Um, and respect our space. Our wheelchair is considered our legs.
Mhm.
So it's important not to touch our mobility device that we use daily to do our activities.
Mhm.
Um, one thing that you, another thing to respect our space is to don't tap us on our head. I've had that experience before. Um, and it was not a great it was not a great idea.
Mhm.
So don't do that. Extend your hand
Mhm.
when meeting a person who uses a wheel or a wheelchair user.
Mhm.
Um, if if proper language, use proper language, but if you don't, be open to hearing what the proper language is for communicating with people with physical disabilities.
Mhm.
And most important, don't assume that we cannot.
Mhm.
Definitely can. For me, if I set my mind to do something, I will accomplish it.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's it.
Yes, yes. Thank you for that. And then something you did mention, because I'm glad you mentioned it, the language part. You're a person who uses a wheelchair,
Yes. Hmm.
as opposed to a
I'm a
person.
person first. Yes.
Yes, exactly. Always keep that in mind. I know I do need to keep that in mind as well for myself, and I'm sure many of you ministry leaders and dance ministry members out there need to keep that in mind as well. And those are some great do's and don'ts. So keep those in mind. Be eye level, sit next to them, be respectful of the space. And a lot of times we can be very helpful, because I'm from the South, and many of you may not be from the South, but very, 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 very helpful and hospitable. It's like, you want to do this, you want to help out, and you're doing too much, and they don't really need that. And so and as Twyla said, just try not to do too much, because it's part of their space, their personal space, and make sure they ask. If they ask, then you help, but don't do stuff before they even ask, because that's something I have to learn how to do, because I naturally just try to open a door or try to push you or whatever. So I have to, and I'm constantly learning myself. And so, that's why I thought that this was very, very important to do, to help many of you out there in assisting in case those times come when an individual, a person who uses a wheelchair, come to you and want to be a part of the ministry. That way you'll know what to do and how to do it in a respectful and mindful and in a very sensitive way. Because just like Jesus was sensitive to just passing by to the blind man, he was sensitive to the blind man, he was sensitive to the paralyzed man, and many other individuals he was very sensitive to. Woman with the issue of blood, we need to be sensitive. And being this, in order for us to be sensitive to individuals, we need to be aware of what's right and what's wrong. We need to be aware of the do's. We need to be aware of the don'ts. And that's all part of the knowledge. And if you want any more information, Ms. Twyla's going to give you some information. You can reach out to her if you want to find out more information about, in general, the disabilities, or in general, in specific, spina bifida. You want to be educated on that, because a lot of times she shares some information on her social media pages, especially I see it a lot on Instagram in her stories, and a lot of things I'm like, wow, that's interesting, that's good to know. So I would suggest that you follow her, and she's going to give you her information towards the end. Follow her and be more in tune and educated and more aware of encountering and again and interacting with persons with a disability. Now leaders, just again, as far as being educated and aware, there are some tips I would like to share with you as well to assist you in this area. And one of them is to bring someone in, just like I brought Ms. Twila in to assist me with this presentation of discussion. You can bring someone in, a professional, into your dance ministry. Let it be a meeting as opposed to you rehearsing. Let it be a meeting. Bring a professional in that can talk to you as well as your dance ministry. Just make sure you get that approved by your ministry heads, like minister of music and church administrator. Make sure it's approved so that you can have someone in to educate and bring the awareness, increase the awareness to you and your ministry. And also, there are activities out there. For example, when I was in Atlanta, Georgia, the dance ministry leader out there, there was an exhibition of those who are physically and mentally impaired. I'm not sorry, mentally, uh, visually impaired. There was an exhibition out there in Atlantic Station, and I had the dance ministry participated as one of our activities. So you could do like an activity event, and it was one of the activities I felt was necessary that we become more aware and educated about as relates to encounter and interacting with individuals with a visual impairment. So we went to this exhibition, and in this exhibition, it was totally dark. It was completely dark, and it was like a maze, and we going through the kitchen, and we had a guide, a tour guide. And there was like when we went into like a front room, we went into a kitchen, and our guide had us touching things. Again, everything was pitch black. We got into a boat to get to the other side. It was a wonderful experience. So I encourage you, ministry leaders, dance ministry leaders, I encourage you to find out what's in your area, your local city, so that you can become more aware and more educated in this area and have that experience of what it's like somewhat to be in someone else's shoes. And so just like individuals, they may have something for those with persons, activities for persons who uses a wheelchair. They may have activities there in your local area. So do some research and find out what's out there so that you can use that as an activity. And so just again, stay aware, stay educated, be sensitive, and do know that to be prepared for this type of thing, because I'm sure it's going to happen. I'm sure it's going to come about. I've never experienced it as far as someone coming to me with their interest. The only individual dancer we had, she had arm. She was, because of an accident, she wasn't able to extend her arm. So her arm stayed like this majority of the time, but that did not take away her ability to be able to dance. So the same thing what Ms. Twila said earlier, that doesn't mean that they can't. if they, even though they're persons who use a wheelchair, doesn't mean they can't do certain things. That doesn't mean they can't work either, so they can do certain things. But again, talk to them, have that discussion, and let them tell you what their limitations are, because they may just surprise you and may make your dance even more beautiful. So I encourage you to continue to bring your ministry to another level. This is another level in God. Now, Ms. Twila, I would like for you to share with us and everyone your social media information.
Okay, so you can find me on Facebook and Instagram under my Team Twila name. It is Team Twila 3. Team and Twila is spelled Twila,
That's okay.
and with the number 3.
Mhm,
Team Twila 3.
mhm. Awesome, awesome. And that's Instagram. And is it on Facebook as well? The
It's
same
on
thing?
Facebook as well.
Same.
Same name.
Same
Same
name.
name.
Okay. So
Same name.
Facebook and Instagram. I encourage you to reach out to her. She's such a beautiful person. You're gonna love her. And I encourage you to reach out to her. Just network. Because you never know what else can come out of it. Definitely sisterhood will definitely come out of it. And now on next week, thank you again, Twila Moorman, for assisting me in educating, bringing this information to the fold, the world, and as it relates to these encounters and interactions. Now, on next week, we're going to talk about being the Jesus that some people see. Are you the Jesus that people see? You just might be the last person that Jesus sees. The last Jesus that people see. Are you that one? Let's keep that in mind. We need to make sure how we walk, be mindful of how we talk, and be mindful of how we treat others. And as it relates to the dance ministry, and I'm going to close out with this one. The dance ministry tend to be an outlet for a lot of us, many of us. It'd be an outlet, a way of therapy, and you just never know. And persons who uses a wheelchair may be interested in this dance ministry because it may be the only area that brings them joy, happiness, and in abundance. So don't turn them away. Receive them as Jesus did. Now, you have a great week, and I'll see you on next week. Be blessed.